What do you think? Hi y'all, my name is Jana Kay. Welcome to Flourish Creatively Podcast number 49. Welcome in each and every one of you. I so appreciate you. From all of my subscribers, new, previous, I don't want to call you old, but all of you who have decided to view this video as well as others, those of you that give a thumbs up and comment below, especially. I love interacting through the comments. So welcome in. You all are greatly appreciated and so great to have you here with me in this particular video where I'm going to share some actual finished objects that I have. So it's been a couple of weeks since I have done a podcast, and I want to make sure I've got some finished objects, some finished projects to share with you. So I might only do a podcast every other week so that I can make sure I've got some things that you might be interested, got them finished. So let's jump into some finished projects that I do have. So I have joined in with Litsa and Rose. Litsa is at Coco's Crochet, Rose at Rose Likes Crochet, and they have partnered together for a year-long crochet-along called #Birthstones Cal for the year 2025. So each month we are inspired by the birthstone for that month to make a project. Well, I'm combining it with my pledge of at least 12 beanies for Bumblebee Mountain Outreach, which is K&K Crochet's charity, and they collect hats. So every month I am making a hat inspired by the month's birthstones. So this month was the birthstone aquamarine, which is a light blue turquoisey color. And I made a cat beanie. I have seen it. I even made one for an amigurumi it was a cat, and I made a cat beanie that I ended up giving to my daughter. And so I decided to make an official person size cat beanie, and this is it. So I went through my stash and I had this beautiful light turquoisey color yarn, and I thought, well, I've had trouble making things with this yarn, but I can make a small project. I can make a hat with it. And so I did. So this is what it looks like. It is big on me, but I have a small head, so I'm thinking there's bound to be some people that can wear this. But I love the color. It is so pretty, and this is what it looks like. So basically I did I did half double crochet in the back loop for a rectangle, and I ended up doing for the brim single crochet for about 6 rows so that I could fold it up and it would fit a little tighter around the head. It still stretches pretty well. And then once you're done with the rectangle, then you fold it in half. So this is the fold right there where I folded it, and I seamed up this half. So I ended up folding it this way. So there's the fold, there's where I seamed it, and then you seam it across the top. And I left, this is the seam. I didn't do it on the inside and flip it inside out, and I slip stitched, did a slip stitch seam. And then, yeah, so I don't know if you can tell but these for the about 5 rows, about down into here, are single crochet in the back loop, just to make the brim a little tighter. It should fold like this, but as I said, because I've got a smaller head, I do fold the cuff up a little bit more. So that's my cat beanie, and this is the yarn that I used. It is Yarn Bees Fleece Light, and this is the colorway Sea Glass. It is a number 5 bulky weight, and it is a boucle yarn. This was a 5-ounce ball with 110 yards. It is 97% acrylic and 3% polyester. It called for an 8mm hook. That's a USA size L11. Anyway, but I used a 9mm. Just because I knew that this yarn was so difficult to work with, and it was awful. It was awful to work with. Part of the reason why it was so awful is because to make it boucle, there is this clear, probably the polyester, I want to say it's like fishing line, but it's stretchy, like nylon thread, anyway, that wraps around it, and my hook kept getting caught on it and pulling at that, because you're doing half double crochet, so you're yarning over and pulling through 3 loops. It was not fun to work with, but I got it done, and I'm so glad that I got it done. And if you've seen my video on the Middle Tennessee Fiber Festival, and I talked about donating, I donated the rest of the skeins. I think I had like 5 of them, and it took a whole one for this, and I think I donated the others to, that craft and art supply shop. Somebody will love the yarn and find that they can either knit, crochet, or maybe they will just do some kind of craft project with it. But I was done with it after I made this hat. But I think it's really cute. It's very warm. It will keep somebody's head very warm in the winter time. And so it's such a squishy, lovely yarn. It just was not fun to work with. So I'm glad that this project is finished. And because it was not that much fun to work with, I came across a yarn that I think I won from Teresa at Critters Crochet. She is doing a stitch through the alphabet, and I guessed one of the stitches that she was going to do, and I won a prize, and it was this yarn right here. This is what I have left of it, and the tag is inside the hat, and it is another Yarn Bee, and it is called Urban Chic, and I love this yarn. This was so much fun to work with. It is a 3-weight yarn. It is 78% acrylic and 22% cotton. And it is such a great yarn to work with. In 100 grams, there's 252 meters or 275 yards. So it's a DK weight. I used a 4.5mm hook. It did call for a 5, but I used a 4.5, and I love this. Oh, I didn't tell you, the colorway is called Mint, and that is the colorway. Thought it was a beautiful, again, turquoisey, the light blues, turquoise. There is a little bit of orange and yellow, and I thought, yes, I would love to make it. I didn't think that it's going to be a hat that I'm going to donate to BMO, but because I didn't think that, with the yellow and the orange, that I would love the hat, but I put it on, and I'm going to make me one. This is what I have left. Out of 100 grams, it took 53 to make my hat, which I'm getting ready to show you. And so I have 47 left, which is not quite enough to make a hat, but I might make the top, the crown, and the ribbing around the edge, the bottom of the beanie, in a different color. Maybe a white, a light blue. I've got some DK acrylic yarn that I can find in my scraps. And so this is the hat. And I love it. Look at that stitch. So I looked up in my book that I have, it is 200 more crochet stitches. So I'm going to put this on so you can see what it looks like. There it is. There's the hat. I've got the seam in the front, but that's not too bad. But look at the lovely stitches. So in this book called 200 More Crochet Stitches by Tracy Todd Hunter. So Teresa at Critters Crochet and Heather at Strings and Threads are doing Battle of the Stitches, and they're using a stitch book by Tracy Todd Hunter. This is a different one, but a lot of the stitches are the same, but it's the UK version. And this is what the book looks like. 200 More Crochet Stitches by Tracy Todd Hunter. And this stitch is called the Twisted Stitch. And basically all it is alternating front and back post double crochets. And that's all it is. So the crown was just double crochets for 5 rounds till I got to 60 stitches, which is 6 inches, was 6 inches across. That's what I'd go to. Whether that's, I start with 12, whether that's 60 or 72, whatever it takes to get 6 inches across. And then I start with the rest of the beanie. And I did that in this stitch, the twisted stitch. And then I ended with single crochet in the back loop only and got this hat. I love the color. So I'm going to make me one because I love the color. I love the stitch. What I wanted is, because I knew this was DK weight, I wanted I want a thick fabric, like a chunky fabric. And so I found this stitch alternating front post and back post stitches, and it did make a nice thick beanie. Not too holey. I mean, you can stretch it, you can see it makes holes, but not too bad. And it is thicker, so it should keep a person's head warm in the spring or fall, or maybe if you have mild winters, in the winter. And so I really love the way that turned out. And so, yeah, inspired by Battle of the Stitches, where I just found a stitch that I liked and made a hat with it. So this one will go to Bumblebee Mountain Outreach, but I do plan on making another one for me out of the rest of this. And so love those hats. So those are 2 hat finished projects, and I have one more finished object. It is a small finished object, and I've been practicing my knitting, so I finished a seed stitch washcloth. Now, I mentioned in my last podcast that I had, this is Hobby Lobby's, I love this cotton, Monkey Red. And it is the softest, squishiest cotton, 100% cotton yarn. I absolutely love it, and it makes amazing washcloths and really squishy. But this texture of the knitted seed stitch is beautiful. So it is a worsted weight yarn. I used a 4, making sure, I think it's a 4mm circular knitting needles I use, and it probably calls for like a 5mm, 4.5 I'm not exactly sure, but I know the DK yarn called for a 4.5, so I'm sure worsted calls for bigger, but I use a 4 so that it's not too, again, too holey. I don't like washcloths with holes in it. I don't like my fingers poking through as I'm wiping counters or washing the dishes off. I use them mostly. I use sponges to wash dishes, but I mostly use these for wiping the counters off, tables off, that kind of thing around the sink. And I love this yarn for washcloths. And I love the feel of the seed stitch. The seed stitch is basically where you alternate knit purl stitches, and then the next row, if you have a knit stitch, you do a purl stitch on top of it. And so that they're alternating not only across a row, but they're alternating up and down as well. I had previously left them all in South Africa. I think I didn't add that in when I said in my previous video, I talked that I had left them all in South Africa, had given them away, and needed to make more for our new home. And I had made ones using the moss stitch. Well, the moss stitch in knitting is doing 2 rows of alternating knit, purl. But instead of alternating up and down, you do 2 rows of knit and purl on top of each other. And then in the 3rd and 4th rounds, then you alternate purl on top of knit. And so you would have 2 going up and down. You would have 2 rows of knit, 2 rows of purl, 2 rows of knit, 2 rows of purl. But going across, they alternate knit, purl. So anyway, this, I'm going to show you because I started one with the moss stitch in knitting. This is the knitted moss stitch. So I'll try to hold that there so you can see it. And then I'm going to do a side by side. Now this does have just garter stitch, which is knit and purl, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl, back and forth. So you're looking kind of at that center versus that one. I can hide the border. So there's the difference between the two, but they both make a really squishy fabric that holds up well in water, doesn't get stretched out or too many holes in it. And again, like I said, this cotton yarn is amazing. I do love all of Hobby Lobby's cotton yarns for washcloths. They're very soft. They're great for wearables too, but and that's I love this cotton. But this one in particular, this monkey red, and I think they have monkey brown. I've never seen monkey brown at my Hobby Lobby, but they really make the squishiest, softest washcloths that really do well in water. And so, yeah, so finish that washcloth, and that is my last finished object to show you. So we're heading into works in progress. So this moss stitch washcloth is a work in progress. So I hope that by the time I'm done, I will have 2 washcloths to use in my kitchen because I do, as I said, love wiping down countertops and things with those washcloths. And so, yeah, and with that yarn in particular. So what else have I been working on? Well, this podcast seems to be a lot about knitting, and I have another knitted work in progress. This was inspired by Kayla at the Crazy Sock Lady. She had done some bookmarks and she went bookmark crazy. And she shared a pattern. It is called With Love, the With Love bookmark. It is by Haley at Loch, like the Loch Ness Monster, L-O-C-H, Loch Knits. And I downloaded the pattern. It was a free pattern that I found or got off of Ravelry, and have been knitting a bookmark. And so this is the bookmark. And this yarn is yarn that I got in an advent calendar by Reggie at J Hook Crochet. I think that was in 2022. And so it's, I don't know if you can see it. It's got a little bit of sparkly in it. and I made the Knockout Crop Top by Jennifer at Cinnamon Stitches. It's her pattern. I made it with this, so it is the little bit that I have left over. I have a little bit of sock yarn, so after I finish a sock, I do an 8-round granny square that I'm putting together all the socks that I have made, making granny squares out of the yarn, kind of as a memory blanket for all my knitted socks. And I still have some yarn left over. And so this yarn, sorry, my circular needle fell down on the floor and tickled my foot. So I was like, what is that? But this yarn I use to make my husband socks, and this yarn, a whole lot of it left over when I made myself a pair of socks. And so, yeah, so I have those 3 skeins, including the one I'm making a bookmark with, and left over, and I love it. I love it. Look how pretty that yarn is worked up. And so I'm excited about making some bookmarks. I also want to do washcloths and bookmarks in crochet as well. I am part of a discipleship group that I think they would make great gifts for them, and also my ESL students that I teach. I think it would be nice for end of year gift to give them bookmarks. And so, yeah, so anyway, thinking about that, but also, you know, friends, family. My husband loves to read. Maybe he would like a knitted bookmark. He likes to use baseball or football or hockey cards, as the little cards that you collect with the players on them. He loves to use those as bookmarks, but he might like a knitted one. And so anyway, but having a lot of fun making those. I am working still on my sweater. I did not put, which I'll make a note on my notes, to put a progress keeper so you can see how far I've gotten. It doesn't look like I've gotten very far, but I have, you can kind of see right now, because obviously no washing or blocking, you can see where the increases were. I think I said wrong last time. So right after the collar, there was the ribbing, there was a row of increases. And then in 4 inches, there was a row of increases. Then at 6 inches, I just got done with a row of increases. And so I'll go to 7 1/4 inches and make one final round of increases, but it's not like these increases. This was knit 2 and then increase, which was a make 1 increase. This round was knit 3 and make an increase. This round was knit 4 and a make 1 increase. The next time I increase, it'll be, I think it's like 4 or 5 increases. It's quite a few. It's like you make one, then you knit a whole lot, like 40 something, and then you do another increase and knit a whole lot. And anyway, so there's not very many increases on that round. And then I should be done and ready to what they call, not break for the sleeves, but anyway, maybe it is. But anyway, where I leave some stitches that will go over the shoulder, and then I'll go back and add the sleeves in. Maybe it is break for the sleeves. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen, whatever the term is that I forgot. So anyway, still working on that. Really love it. As a reminder, I am using Premier Serenity Chunky for this. This is the colorway After Dark, but it is, there we go. It's a really pretty pretty green color. And yeah, it is a chunky yarn. It is working up very chunky, but I think it will be nice to wear in the wintertime. It is 100% acrylic, so it'll definitely keep me warm. And maybe one of those that I throw on over something if I'm going out in the cold. Still working on socks. Haven't done too much progress on my mom's sock or my last sock, so not showing that, but I am working on it, trying to get some stitches in here and there. And I am working on my shawl for the hashtag 6 Spring Shawl Swap, where 6 of us podcasters are swapping, sending each other shawls. The pattern that I am using, I did talk about it and showed it in my last podcast that you can catch. I'll link here, but it is the Lost in Time shawl by Johanna Lindahl at Miho or Mijo, but I'm thinking it might be Miho Crochet. And all the information is in the description box below. So definitely working on that. I do have a few acquisitions. These are some skeins of yarn that I bought before I went to the Middle Tennessee Fiber Festival. So if you want to see what I bought there, you can check out this video if you haven't seen it already. But this was some yarn. So in my previous podcast, I finished a cat mat for my daughter, for her to put in the windowsill, just a small rectangle, so that her cats can sit up there and look out the window. They are house cats. They stay inside all the time, unless she goes walking them, but she does put them in one of those pet strollers. And so they do stay inside, but love to sit at the window and look out. And she sent me a couple of photos that I'll share with you. But I decided, if my grandcats are going to have blankets to lay on, my daughter needs a blanket for her bed. So she and I were together in New York, and she saw this pillow, loved the colors in it, and kind of uses that for inspiration. That's why I made the cats an olive green cat mat to sit on in the windowsill. And so I used that pillow for inspiration. And I bought more of this really bulky yarn. So this is Yarn Bee Eternal Bliss. So I got the olive because that's in the pillow. I got this blue called Navy, and it's a little bit darker than what you're seeing. Yeah, a little bit darker, but not too much darker. It is kind of a bright navy, not what I would consider, like when I think of navy, I think of like almost black, kind of where you have to hold black and blue together to see which one is actually blue. I bought this colorway called Mustard, and I bought this one, and it is called Butterscotch Medallion. And I bought that color. So those are all the colors of those swatches in the pillow. And then the blanket itself is going to be this ivory color. So I'm going to make a proper blanket for her, squishy blanket. And so excited about getting started with this. So all of this yarn is a very bulky 7-weight yarn. There are 226 gram ball, or 8 ounces, and there's only 28 yards on each of these. Hobby Lobby had one of those little sheets that hang that you can pull for free, and they had a blanket pattern in there for a hand knitted blanket. It called 4-6 skeins, But that was I want to say it was for a 60 by 70 inch blanket, and I'm going to make a 60 by 60. So I bought 5 skeins of the ivory, and then 1 mustard, 1 of the butterscotch, 1, no, I take that back, 2 of the navy, and then I had bought 1 olive, and I have a little bit of scrap olive because I do like the navy. I kind of want to do more thicker rows of the navy and the olive and thinner rows of the butterscotch and mustard, if that's right. Yep, I think that's right. And then the thickest rows will be in this ivory, or ivory will go in between. I'm not sure the pattern that I want to use. There is a young lady who she puts up shorts of her making these blankets, and they're just going back and forth and back and forth. I will link her, I'll put her name here, but link her details in below. But she just puts these shorts to music of her making them, and I love the way that she's very creative with the stripes that she does. And so, yeah, I may look and see how she does her stripes and be inspired by some of her designs as well. The YouTube channel called Be Cozy, it's actually a shop as well, and I forgot, I want to say it's up north somewhere. Michigan, maybe? Anyway, they have a shop where they sell this really fluffy polyester yarn. And she's got some great tutorials on how to hand knit and different patterns for hand knitted blankets. And so that's where I first saw the pattern that I did for the cat mats. And so, yeah, so anyway, it's Be Cozy is the name of that YouTube channel, where it'll be more the tutorial, like how you change colors and that kind of thing. So going to work on that. And yeah, that's pretty much an upcoming plan for knitting and crocheting. I am working on my stocking and getting that tutorial videoed piece by piece with all the steps. So it should be coming out the end of March, first part of April. I am still working on my oversized sweater for the Bougie Crochet Wearables. That's why there was no video this week, because I am working on the sleeves, 2 of the sleeves. And so hopefully kind of want to get those sewn on, so that my next Bougie Crochet Wearable will be the finished project. I'm part of Christmas Extravaganza that K&K Crochet are putting on, and thinking about Christmas gifts, some things that I want to showcase in July's videos, or videos that will come out in July for that. And in May, I am joining Battle of the Stitches again, and really looking forward to that. I decided to wait till May, because April we are going away. We're going overseas. So I want to make sure that I am around at home with all my craft supplies, so that I can join in Battle of the Stitches in May. So yeah, so that I think it's everything on my list. As you can see, I have this hanging. We now have 8 things hanging on our walls in our house. Slowly but surely, it is becoming a home. This is a Jane Austen puzzle that my husband and I put together, that I had framed. And it is characters, homes, places, people from all, including Jane herself, but it's from all the characters in the book she wrote, but she's also in it. And so, yeah, I love that puzzle. And this, let's see, right up here. Is that right? Nope, this one there. So right here, I've got all my Jane Austen collection of books. Yeah, these are all my kids' books right here. And then this section is Jane Austen right there, with some other than classic books as you go further down. So I do love my classics, but Jane Austen is my favorite. So yeah, excited to have that now hanging in my craft room. All right, thank you for joining me for the fiber yarny portion of this video. And I do have a passage I would love to share with you, and a short devotional thought on that passage. So this is a pretty well-known story from the Bible. It is about Mary and Martha, which are friends of Jesus and his disciples. They also have a brother, Lazarus. This comes from Luke chapter 10. It's verses 38 to 42. That's basically about these two sisters. And this is what it said. While they, Jesus and his disciples, were traveling, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who also sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted with all the preparations she had to make. And she came up and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to give me a hand." The Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but one thing is needed. Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her." And I got to thinking that most of the time when people talk about this passage, they talk about how, are you a Mary or are you a Martha? Do you like to work and get things done, or are you one that would sit and spend time at Jesus's feet? And as I was thinking about the two phrases that jumped out at me in these verses, it says Martha was busy with all the preparations she had to make. Martha was distracted by what she felt like she had to make. And then Mary chose the one thing that was needed. So there's a had to, I have to, but there's a need. And even sometimes I think whether we're a Mary or a Martha, and maybe Mary was very similar to Martha. I mean, most women back in the Bible times, in those times, did work very hard. There weren't very many opportunities for women to sit and spend time sitting and doing things that maybe they want to do. And so Mary still could have been, we don't know, she could have been very much like Martha in wanting to get things done. And so sometimes I think it's not, are you a Mary or a Martha? But it's how many times are you distracted? Am I distracted by what I feel like I have to get done? Am I distracted by many tasks, or am I able to set aside tasks for Jesus? And I think that's what Mary did. This was Jesus, and she really wanted to hear what he had to say, so she made a choice that Martha at this time didn't make. Martha chose to be in the kitchen. Mary chose to sit at Jesus' feet. And I think that it doesn't really matter who we are, but I think we all get distracted get anxious about things that we feel like we have to do. This has to get done or life will fall apart, or I'll lose my job, or whatever it is. I'll get in trouble for being late, or whatever it is. There are times that we feel like we have to do things, and then we need to weigh what we have to do, what we feel like we have to do, and what we need to do. And Mary at this time felt she needed to sit and hear from Jesus. And sometimes that means maybe putting something aside. It might actually mean setting aside time specifically and not letting anything else interrupt that time. It might mean, like for me, it could mean going to bed a little bit earlier so I could get up earlier. Whatever it takes to make the choice of the one thing needed, choosing that one thing needed. And no matter who you are, we all need Jesus. We all need to spend time with him in God's word, in prayer, just working on deepening our love for him and our relationship with him. And that's what stood out for me. And so I hope this encourages you. And thank you again for joining me, for choosing to click on this video, for watching all of it. I appreciate you all. And let me know how you're doing. Love to connect through the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, y'all.